Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Enjoying Orange Slice with Jeff and Ian. This week we talk about all seven playoff series, even though there's eight. So we get to the eighth one as well. You'll have to stay to the end to listen to that. So I think we have a good time. Hope you do too. Enjoy.
There we go. We were together the other day in Los Angeles, but now we've been separated back to our normal spots, Las Vegas and Long Beach. Jeff, my name's Ian Bagg. The Stanley Cup playoffs have started. What do you think so far?
I think they've been great. I think the game we went to the other night in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, was so cool. I'd never been in Staples/crypto.com before. It is a massive building, but it's got all kinds of personality. Unbelievable fan base in LA. I was amazed and happy to see all the people in the Kings paraphernalia, a few Oiler fans kicking around. But really cool building, a lot of energy in there. And so I think that game, along with a lot of the other ones, has been a lot of fun.
Well, let's start there. You told me the last time you were involved in hockey in Los Angeles was when?
Well, the last time I was at an NHL game in Los Angeles was the night that Gretzky started with the LA Kings back at the Fabulous Forum. We came to town with the Detroit Red Wings. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, and we got beat 8-3, I think was the score.
Oh.
So this was the first time since Gretz's first night in LA as a King, and I played in that game for the Wings, that I was at an NHL game in Los Angeles again. So
what was the crowd like that night? Were they as hockey knowledgeable as they were the other night? Because you said to me while we were watching that game, you're like, this crowd is pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah, I think the night that Gretz came to town, I think you had everybody, and I think Gretz helped to kind of get the start of the hockey knowledge. I'm not going to say there weren't fans in LA before, because there were. One of our friends, Ron Futrell, it was a huge hockey fan in LA. So there was hockey fans in LA, but that night it was all about see and be seen. Hollywood crowd was there. Roy Orbison came onto the ice, started singing the national anthem. Well, we were still skating around the warm up, getting ready. Here he comes, starts belting out the national anthem. He's like, I'm going to start now. And it was a party for about 3 hours that night. Well, they absolutely bootlicked us. I think Gretz ended up with 4 or 5 points. Bernie Nichols had a night. Yeah, that was something. But I would say LA, what strikes me about LA is they're really good sports town. I know there's millions of people in the LA area. I know that, but between the Dodgers, the Angels, the Lakers, Clippers, you got the Rams and the Chargers. Chargers are still trying to find their way. The Ducks, but the Kings. But I was shocked. Like, that place was packed and it was rocking the other night. And to support all those teams is not easy because there's so much going on in that city in a given night.
It was fantastic. There were a lot of orange jerseys there, and they were very sad when they left. Some interesting cheers on the concourse on the way out. Red Wings suck. That was an interesting one as we were leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they were paying homage to me. They're like, when he was there for his cup of coffee, he sucked. So did the Red Wings. Actually,
well, that's what made
me
laugh.
Actually, pretty good.
Yeah. I went for a leak, and you were still outside, and as I come out, I was like, "Red Wings suck." I'm like, "Oh, Jeff's getting into it with people."
Yeah, I'm getting chirped. I was like, well, I could have been in another part of the arena, but when the 3 people started yelling "Red Wings suck," I was right there to hear it. So,
nice. Oh well. Well, we've got 8 series to get through. We're going to start out. Let's start out with the team that just beat 4-0. The Nashville Predators were taken down by the Colorado Avalanche in 4 games straight. We kind of all suspected that would happen, but did you think there was any chance of them winning when they had to go to a backup goaltender the other night? Last night?
No, you know what? When they lost Saros a couple days before the end of the season, I mean, UC Saros is. We're talking about him in the Vezina, best goalie in the league. He's in that conversation. So, you go to David Rittich, who was in Calgary, who played pretty well there, but didn't play a lot of games this year in Nashville. And then Connor Ingram came in and gave a really good game in game 2 in Colorado. But Colorado's just got way, way, way too much for Nashville. And one of the concerns I had, even if Saros would have played, was the pace. We talked about that Colorado is it's a
Well,
track
I
meet
was
every night.
I was
Yep.
thinking because the stick went through his mask the other night. Kemper. Which one? Who am I
Kemper,
thinking?
yeah, you're doing
Yeah,
well. Yep.
Kemper. All right, Kempe is on Los Angeles Kings, but Kemper used to be on that Los Angeles Kings as well. But he did not start in Game 4, which probably the best thing to do because you know you're going to win that series no matter what, even if you lose one game, and have him rested and ready to go for series number 2, right?
Yeah, I think anytime you get around the eye, any kind of injury around the eye, there's a lot of stress there, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there was I guess there's some swelling around the eye. So you're
He had
playing
some,
every other
he had,
night.
he
Now,
had some salt after the game.
yeah, he's going to be off for, I'm guessing, a week now because all the other series in the West are 2-2, aren't they?
Mhm.
I think, yeah, they're all 2-2. So, LA, Edmonton, or whoever else, the earliest they're going to get done is Thursday. These guys finished on Monday. So to tee it up for round 2, you're thinking probably Sunday, maybe earliest. So yeah, Colorado's in a really good spot. Go back to the Mile High City and really kind of they owned a lot of the parts of the game they needed to own, and they played very, very fast. And their superstars were their best players. So things look good in Colorado. I lost you.
I
Can't
was
hear you. There you go. Did you mute yourself? Nope, we lost you. Oh, still can't hear you.
There we go. I'm all plugged in again. Lou was trying to break into the place. I had to stand up twice and knock the thing out. Anyways, I do want to finish this on that series. Predators fans throwing Skittles on the ice. You donkeys. Keep your in your pockets. If you're there as a fan, you win with class, you lose with class. So you don't throw on the ice. And if you have thrown on the ice, I really hope you hit black ice while driving home and slip in the ditch and take off a foot. There we go. Just keep stuff off the ice. I can't stand
yeah,
when the fans think you are part of the game, but you're not in the game. Keep yourself out of the game.
yeah. You start throwing stuff on the ice like beer cans or anything. I mean, it's dangerous. And not only the fact that you're trying to throw it on the ice, what if it doesn't make it to the ice and you hit a kid in the stands or somebody that's just there to enjoy themselves?
Yeah.
So use your head, be smarter about it. And you know what's kind of funny about this? And we'll move on from this series, but Nashville is an unbelievable town. If you haven't been to Nashville, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I almost felt like I was talking to you for a second. Like, if you haven't been to Nashville, eyebrows went up and everything. If you haven't been there, it's one of the greatest cities I've ever been. I could move there tomorrow. Loved it. But you know what? Hey, you're a service city. Tourists come to your city to enjoy your city. It's like Vegas. Yeah, we don't like it when we get beat here too much, but you know what? We want everyone to come and enjoy themselves and feel like they're in a good environment. So don't throw crap on the ice. Stay classy, Nashville, right? Not classy, classy.
Clashy.
Don't be classy.
Don't be
classy.
clashy. We'll talk about the game we're at again. We'll go back to LA, Edmonton. We'll talk about that series. But did you feel a little bit like people were just taking their energy that they'd built up over the week and just taking their anger out of the game? The guy sitting beside us just yelling. I was like, oh my, somebody does not like working in a warehouse.
I think what set him off was we had great seats, and Dana, we can't say enough about Dana. Thanks, Dana. Best trainer in the league. But he knew that. But they're all great, by the way. There's the trainers in the NHL. You know what? I hate to go off into the ditch on you, but I got to talk about this really quick before we talk about the guy next to us. We should have talked about the other series first, but the trainers. Not how we do things. Yeah, we kind of all over the road. We've never had a script ever. The trainers.
There's 3 roads at a terrace. We take all 3 of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Actually,
but only 4. One of them will get you to Prince George. So you got to figure out which one that is.
Prince George.
The trainers are the best. They're the glue of these teams. And we came out of the game after Crypto or Staples. I want to call it Staples. I just love that name for that building. But
They still got
so we
signs
were
up
out.
on the streets for Staples Center, so we'll call it Staples.
Yeah, we'll call it Staples for tonight. But so after the game, we're walking out to the car, and Ian texted with Dana, who's the trainer with the Kings, and said, "Hey, just want to say hi." The game wasn't over like what 40 minutes, and the trainers were already driving out with the van with all the gear in it, and they were headed to the Kings practice facility where they take all the gear back out, hang it up to dry, probably stay there till at least 2 or 3 in the morning, probably maybe overnight, get back up, come in at 6 or 7 at the latest, pack it all back up to get it ready to go on the airplane to go up to Edmonton so they can play tonight. And so everybody can have exactly what they wanted. Guaranteed they would have been sharpening skates, obviously doing laundry and cleaning everybody's stuff up, getting their gloves or their sticks ready. And so the trainers are just the heartbeat of every organization, I think. And this who the players go to when they need something, it's who the coaches go to when they need something, and it's where the support staff goes to if they need something. So like the trainers are the hub. And so I know you wanted to talk about something else there, but I wanted to
that's good. We should bring that up, that the work that they do make sure that game gets played 48 hours later. Without that, health and all that stuff, that without that stuff being done, it's not good. And it's interesting to see if you go back a couple, even when you were playing, how many trainers there weren't. Just
no. And Larry Ness, Loch Ness, my favorite of all time, love him. He's down in the with his Super Duty pickup. I think he's down in the Bayou, down in the Orleans area now. But these guys are special people. They're the salt of the earth, these trainers, because they're only there to do whatever you need them to do, and they don't even question it. They just do it. And the players and the coaches take great care of them, as they should. But I'll tell you what, a great trainer and a great training staff makes a huge difference, not only over 82 games, but it makes a huge difference in the playoffs. So good to see Dana. Thank you so much. He's a great guy.
Also, as you said about the hub, it gives all those people have to have a kind of a safe place, and the trainers are the safe place.
That's right. Those guys, they know everything and they don't say anything.
Yeah.
That sums up. They're the best. And so when you see them standing beside the coaches or behind the players, it looks like they're all dolled up, got their hair just right, and they're looking good. And they're LA Kings or Edmonton Oilers tracksuit tonight behind the bench. Those guys' minds are going 1,000 miles a minute. It's whether a guy breaks a stick on the ice, they're grabbing a stick, a guy twists his hand or bends his finger back, or whatever it is, needs a skate sharpened, needs a new blade. They're always doing something. So, anyways, to move on, we got to get back to the guy who's sitting beside us.
Go ahead.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we come in. I don't know. Maybe you should set the stage for this, because you need to bring up the people who are sitting in front of us too before we get to him.
So we're in section 108, row 11. That means we're 11 rows back from the ice. We're down there because we are very special people. We're behind the Kings net to start off the game. It is covered in orange jerseys, signed by Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier. I guess you just take it right off the wall and take it down to the game when your team's playing in the playoffs. But we are surrounded by a lot of jerseys, and all of a sudden this guy sits beside us and he just starts yelling immediately. That's an Edmonton. So he's not beside us. He's one down and beside us. That's an Edmonton fan. Well, then a guy comes in a Kings jersey and he's matching the Oilers fan. So he starts yelling, and neither of them use syllables. Neither of them use consonants. So we are just trying to understand what they're saying. And it is fantastic, except for the Edmonton fan. By the mid way through the first period, he knew his team was having a rough night and kind of tried to make friends with the LA fan.
Yeah. It was like he was going for it. We should have known he was wearing an Oilers Kane jersey, 91 on it. And he was standing up and letting everybody know he was in the building. And the guy that ended up sitting beside us, this guy was 2 rows in front. He wasn't having any of it because he was a season ticket holder for the Kings.
But he's usually up in the nosebleeds. And for this game, he's down and he's excited that he's down and he's able to. Yeah.
And his girlfriend or wife was fantastic, and this guy was good too. But he was sitting beside me, and we had a good conversation, knew his hockey, but then he was starting to get pretty fired up, and the Kings were playing great.
Oh yeah.
And I had to look at Ian at least 3 or 4 times, and I've been told many times I can't hear. Okay, I know that, but I had to ask Ian 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 or 6, maybe a baker's dozen. What did he just say? And he was just going for it. And then as we got into the third period and the game got more ramped up and the Kings then
Yeah.
scored their third and it was getting kind of greasy at the end, he was still going, but then he pushed it too far and his voice started to crack a little bit. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it started cracking and I still had no idea what he was saying, but
Yeah.
he had a great time. And you know what? He was yelling, he was getting fired up, but he wasn't being arrogant or, he had a few cents and answers here or there, but not.
Yeah. He was
excited.
he was
excited,
obnoxious.
but
He was
yeah,
obnoxious, but he wasn't
yeah,
too annoying. He kept in check
yeah,
and was very, very nice to the Oiler fans. That's what was
yeah,
great about it. He was, he was chirping, but he was just like, welcome to the city, have a good time. And like, I hope you're having a great time. Hope you like the building. He was like, and Edmonton fans, I hope you realize that when the Kings fans come there too, you should be the same way. Yell and scream, have a good time, but at the same time, it's not two tribes go to war. One.
You know,
So
my favorite part was though is like the Oiler fans were there and a couple of them were up early, right? Yeah, let's go. And then I think it kind of dawned on them later, like, and the Kings fans were really good, but that place was packed. Like I would say 95, 96, 97% Kings fans. And then I think you kind of come to a realization that, hey, we're wearing our Oilers jerseys and we're in downtown LA right now.
yeah,
It's
that's
like,
what's
we might start, we're going to start the peace talks here. Hey, you guys played a really good game. It was pretty funny, but like you kind of, you're wearing a jersey around, but then you're like, I'm in downtown
oh.
LA.
Oh. Yeah, suddenly as we leave, we see a bunch of homeless guys sleeping in Oilers jerseys.
So, great
Great
game.
building. It's going to be
Yeah,
a
what
great
can we
game
say?
tonight. Great game tonight. I think the Kings have the edge tonight if they can keep that energy going. I expect Lemieux and Kane to actually go at it tonight.
Yeah, I would think Lemieux. I got to give him credit. And so the Lizotte, Lemieux, Dustin Brown line has been on point since game one. And Lemieux, we talked about him earlier in the year. He kind of lost his mind there a couple times in a few different games. He's done a really good job of agitating and doing what his job is, but staying relevant in the game. And he's been very noticeable. The Trevor Moore with Danault and who's the third guy in that line has been phenomenal.
Grunderson?
Is it not Grunderson? Is it Grunderson? I think
91. Is it 91?
Yeah, I think it might be Grunderson. And then Kopi. I mean, if we've talked a lot about the Kings here today, but if you don't love Kopitar, then I don't know what kind of player you can like. This guy is unbelievable. And when I watch Brown, who I know maybe some people aren't a huge fan of Brown, but Brown's been a hell of a player in the league in LA. So when you go there and you sit and, I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight. I would just want to see a really good game.
You saw
Obviously, we did. But you've got Dustin Brown who's going to retire after this year, Kopitar and Quick. These guys are the new face after Gretzky helped turn it, right? And get this thing, the Kings being relevant over the years. And they've had some really good teams, but these guys have won Stanley Cups. These guys are entrenched in that community. And just to see those guys interact with each other and what they mean to the LA fan base and to the LA area is really, it wasn't lost on me. I mean, when you're in there, these guys are heroes. What Staples take? 21, 22,000. I mean, it's a massive building.
I think it's around
And
20 and a bit.
yeah, and it would be easy to get lost in all the hubbub in LA with the stars, the movie stars, the Lakers, the Dodgers, and all the big name sport guys and gals in that town, and then the big name movie stars. But Kopi and Quick, these guys, they love him, and Dustin Brown. So, and of course, Doughty's out right now, but he's kind of the fourth member of that band, right? Those guys they've given their heart and soul to that organization, and the people love them. So
Right. Let's move on to Calgary, Dallas. Calgary woke up last night. Dallas is playing really well. Ottinger just standing on his head. Once again, a third string goalie playing very, very well.
well, I don't know about that, but hang on 1 second. Let's just finish on Edmonton because we kind of chirped their fans a little bit there and they were sitting on their hands. But
Oh, here we
Edmonton
go.
to me, and I don't know if I said it the other night in one of those clips,
But
but
he was in the Edmonton organization, so he's gonna say.
yeah, that's right. That's right. You got to throw some respect. Edmonton, when they're going, they cheat a little bit on the above the puck. So when they're going and that puck pops free, they will give you fits. But the other night they were cheating on the top side of the puck, and the puck wasn't getting by the LA guys, and LA was all over them. So Edmonton tonight has to spend a little bit more time, on the right side of the puck, and then skate into it because they got all kinds of pace.
Doing the work where you don't want to do the work at home. Got to
Yep.
do your chores, and then you can have a good old time as soon as you get out of the house.
Yeah, and the key the other night too, we said in the clip, was LA being able to take care of Edmonton's power play, made them beat them 5-on-5, and they're capable of doing that, but it didn't happen the other night. Good job, LA. Moving on to Calgary, Dallas. I'm just going to keep talking until I run out of breath. Ottinger might have started the season as the third or fourth, but this kid is a legit keeper. I look at him as the best keeper.
Well, you got to look at what's his contract worth. His contract.
Well, I agree with you, but
is he around? He's around $1 million, isn't he?
Yeah, he's between 750 and $1 million, but
yeah, exactly. So he's a third string goalie, right? He's not a $7 million goalie.
Okay, you can say potato. I'll say potato.
No, I'll say cost. You'll say, well, he's fantastic. He just
you'll say cost, but I'll say young guy then. He's a young guy. Okay, so
unexpected hero.
We talked about Ottinger earlier in the season. Do you remember him? Yeah, I'm gonna pretend. I'm gonna take a breath.
I remember talking about
yeah, we did.
Yeah,
it was like episode, like, I don't know, 40 maybe 35.
Episode beginning of the year.
I don't know, whenever beginning of the hockey season. We talked about Ottinger before because we talked about Happy. I want to say Happy Bulin, but it's Khudobin. It's Khudobin. Yeah. Happy Bulin. Whoa, I went back about 10 years there.
I know. Years. Happy Bulin's Khudobin's father.
So we had Khudobin, we had Holtby, and we had Ben Bishop, and we had Ottinger in Dallas. And I remember us talking about him. And I'm not going to fall off or trying to get on the bandwagon with Ottinger, but I really like the kid, and I know we talked about him. And anyways, you say cost and third string, which is fine, but I'll say young guy on an entry-level contract. And
okay, but
you know what?
When they were looking at their wall, he was third or fourth, right? Bishop comes back, he's still stuck out in the cold. Khudobin gets his bun out of the oven and actually does something, and something works, right? And if Holtby doesn't get hurt, Ottinger's not getting that chance.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
You are saying, and you said it so poetically. I loved it. But here's why Ottinger was down or considered lower on the depth chart, because he was the only guy they could put down in the minors and didn't have to put him through waivers.
Okay, there we go.
So we seem to be arguing about a guy that's just really good. So we won't argue about him anymore. We'll just say he needs to stand on his head because it looks like Calgary's. You said it. Well, Calgary's waking up.
When I say third string, and here we go again, I'm saying a guy that's going to have a very good shot at having a good contract next year, but at the same time bringing the prices of other goalies that might be a name down.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
so it's goalie. There's a glut of goalies right now, right? That's what it does.
Yeah, look, if you look in the playoffs, like Swayman's under $1 million, Ottinger's under $1 million. Domingue is in as the third string guy. Obviously
Domingue's 50,000.
Yeah, these guys, and there's other guys out there too. But
the guy that came in for the Predators, he was in Saskatchewan or something, right?
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Ingram. Yeah, Ingram. Yeah, there's another guy, right? And but I think if you look at Dallas, they did a really good job of keeping the lid on Calgary. But we talked about this the other night, you and I, after the Kings game, is we were both kind of wondering when Daryl was going to finally come in the room and look around and go, okay, you guys had enough of playing this way. Now you're going to play the way you're going to play my way. And, I think the old Daryl quote that I love from years ago is Daryl used to come in, and I think this was Daryl, but if it wasn't, I'm going to attribute it to him. He used to come in the room and say, one of three things is going to happen. I'm going to change, or you're going to change, and I'm not changing. So what you saw the other night with Daryl and
then
the
he'd say
Calgary
harder,
Flames
harder.
and harder is, and you know who I think told me that was Scaldi. Jared Scaldi told me that years ago. So I think that's true, but that's Daryl. And I think he finally looked around the room and said, okay, you guys had enough. We're doing it my way now. And last night they
Whole
had
team was on
54
board.
shots. Yeah.
Right.
And Calgary 5-on-5 is incredible. But I still saw there was 12 minutes of penalties for Dallas and 14 for Calgary or one or the other. I'm like, it's way too many penalties. If you think you're going to go on and go way into the playoffs, you got to start toning that stuff down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also gave Daryl a great quote after the game. He went into the press room and just said, good game, and then left.
We've talked about Daryl before. Remember in the Stanley Cup runs in LA, the players used to go in and watch his press conferences after the game. That's how big an impact that Daryl has on his teams. And they're just the best. And I'll watch him every time I can too. I love the guy's a legend.
And Lucic probably having his best season or definitely his best playoffs. He's been their number one guy. Just that even in their loss the other night, he was so on. Kind of reminded me of when he played with Boston.
Mm-hmm. He's a force out there. He's relevant every night.
No, we don't enjoy saying
that. Yeah,
guys from East Van, he's a bad man. He's a bad man.
Everybody in British Columbia just turned us off right now. They're like, you're bringing up Boston again. So for those of you who don't remember, they beat Vancouver in the playoffs for the Stanley Cup. What was that, 2011?
2011. And I knew it was going to go down because when they started playing it, I was watching it on CBC and via satellite down here. And they played Adele, You Almost Had It All. And I was just like, why would you play that song? They've just ruined the Vancouver Canucks. And sure enough, I was right. And Trent called me and said, Adele just beat the Vancouver Canucks. So, yeah. I got superstitions. I don't give a shit. I'll say things. Great series, though. I still think it goes at least 6, right? I think 7, right? What do you think?
Yeah, that one now, let's just see. We've had ebb and flows. Like the highs have been so high for some of these teams and the lows are so low. And it just, you don't have to look any further than, the last Edmonton Kings, they beat them 8-2 or 8-3. Then they come back and lose 4-0. Calgary gets beat in a close game the other night, 3-2, and they come back and boot like Dallas last night. Washington beats Florida 6-1. Florida comes back and beats them in overtime the next game. So it's amazing. Round one is so exciting. And like we're 4 games into it. Game 5 starts tonight. We'll see where things go. Game 5, obviously the team that gets tonight, huge advantage because now you got 2 games to try and close the other guy out.
Florida. Well, let's talk Florida and the old Washington Capitals. Oshie just drops Bennett last night with a hit. Some people calling for extra charges after the game, asking the league to step in and give Oshie a little bit of a meh, but it was right in the chest. Seemed like it was completely legal. But it's Bennett that their number one scorer, and also I don't know if he's our number one scorer, but he's your number one scorer for your Florida Panthers on your thing there. That was just a mess. I think I got hit by Oshie the way I'm talking. But then Florida comes back and wins in overtime. We talked about their coaching in Washington being a little bit more seasoned than in Florida, but good game by Florida last night.
Yes, they did what they needed to do. Everybody was kind of looking at Florida like they were a little bit, too not playing gritty enough. They didn't know if they could get down in the trenches with Washington, and they got down in there the other night or last night. And I was working, so I didn't see the game. But I did see that Bennett got the first assist on the overtime goal that Verhaeghe scored. So obviously he stayed in the game. I mean, we've seen Bennett just absolutely train wreck people. Oshie is real sneaky. He'll get guys on the tracks once in a while and just light them up. But great series. I can talk about Washington a little bit. Just saw him here a few weeks ago in Vegas. Vegas had a torrid comeback in the third to beat them, and they beat them in overtime. But what I liked about Washington is their system was great. The first two periods, they're big, they're fast, they're physical. Vegas had a really tough time hanging on to them, and then in the third, with everything on the line, Vegas found a way to get the game tied in overtime and win it. But Washington can play pretty much any way you want. Obviously, not having Tom Wilson. I don't know if he played last night, but that's a huge guy to come out of their lineup. But this one looks like it could go 7. It'll go 6 for sure, right?
Yeah, I think it'll go 6 or 7. And I didn't pay enough attention to the Panthers this year. I kind of got turned off after that whole thing went down with Coach Q. And I just kind of turned off on them for whatever reason. So I don't know. You've always talked very highly of the Panthers, but it seems like in Washington they're a little one day they'll try and one day they won't, even though they're such a great team. So I don't know if either of those teams go much further after the second round. So
yeah, that's an interesting take on it. I mean, Washington, they do sometimes leave you wanting more. There's no question about it. I mean, and then Florida is they're President's Trophy winner, right? Top team in the league, but Florida's carrying around a lot of weight. They haven't won a playoff round since 1996.
mm-hmm.
So, Washington, I thought, that at the start of the series that they should take Washington out, just because they should have an advantage in goal and on a little bit of an advantage on the blue line. And plus they were scoring crazy amounts, but Washington can score with you. What Washington can do is really not ratchet it up physically if they need to. So, I don't know. 1996, that's a long time to be carrying that kind of weight around. They've got a young coach in Burnett who's done a great job. We just saw Laviolette the other night, especially in that 6-1 game. There's just times when these veteran coaches, I think, see things because they've been there so many times. Just pull a string here, move a lever there, and give their team a slight advantage. And in playoff hockey, a slight advantage, is all you need sometimes because the margins are so thin, Lord Beck. They're so thin.
And I'm not mocking Washington or saying I'm just saying they kind of look like the rest of the world. They kind of have that COVID brain going on right now, where some days you're just like, the world, and then other days you're like, hey, I'm back in. You know what I mean? So they kind of have that feel.
That Washington, you definitely, with what they have to offer, you're looking for a little bit more consistency, no question about it. We saw it during the year. They kind of fell. They were right there, and then they kind of tailed off towards the end of the year, and they're in the second wild card, and that's how come they ended up with the first place Florida Panthers. But great series, and then you watch those guys go at it. I mean, my goodness, the Eastern Conference series it's just like, especially that Florida Washington one. There's just some brutal physicality out there, and somehow someone's got to win this series and try and win 3 more. So I think we'll see whoever wins in Florida tomorrow night. To me, comes out winning that series.
All right, we got a couple more series to go. We'll get out of here, and then we'll move on. We go to Pittsburgh, New York. It's funny when I seen at the end of the season when the Rangers were waving goodbye to Pittsburgh after they beat them for the series, like the in-season series. I was like, oh, you're giving them ammo to come at you hard, and it seems like that seems to be working. 2 games, Shazurkin gets pulled. I don't know. They just seem to be running out of runway, but they are ahead of schedule. They're not supposed to be as good as they are right now. So,
Well, we talked about New York, the Rangers during the year, and of course, we love Spuddy. We love
What?
Coach Gallant, right? I mean, we're big
Best
fans,
accent,
right?
buddy.
Oh, he's the best. He's such a good guy. If you want to pull for someone, pull for Gerard Gallant. Call him Spuddy because he's from PEI. His nickname now is Turk, though, because he is. It's more like Turk, like he's tough. But
I thought he looked like a turkey.
no, oh, well, they call him Turk because I think, yeah, but I know him as Spuddy. Just a great guy. But
He always
and
looks
a great
surprised
coach.
whenever they go to him on the bench.
Yeah, yeah.
The second period.
He's such a good guy, and I pull for him. And it's so good to see the Rangers back and doing their thing. Here's what happened to the Rangers. They lost in that triple overtime game, and I think that took its toll on them. They came back and won the next game at home, but they looked like they were totally surprised in the first period of game 3 in Pittsburgh, and that's where this series turned.
Mhm.
They were out of sorts. One of the things we talked about during the Rangers during the course of the year is they're kind of like Edmonton. They're like, you want to go up and down the ice with us? We'll go up and down the ice with us. But Pittsburgh's lethal. And they every time Pittsburgh came down with the pace that they play with, it was in the back of the net. And they got rattled. And yeah, they came back in game 3 with a furious comeback to tie it at 4-4. But it's so hard when you're down to come back and get to even. The other team, yeah, you're catching up to them, but the other team's still in the lead, and then the other team's falling on their face, but they're still tied with you. Whereas,
Right.
So all the energy they had to pull and the chances that they give up the grade A's right in front of the net. And Shesterkin just wasn't on in game 3. Game 4, I didn't see any part of it, but it looks like it was kind of a carryover from game 3 where Pittsburgh, when I saw them in Vegas, Vegas was, I was trying to look back over the schedule, see when it was. I think it was in March sometime. Vegas was kind of all over them, got up on them early in the first 2 periods. The third period, they just took the ice, Pittsburgh did, and tilted it. And it just, everything flowed right to the Vegas goal. And they ended up just putting on a clinic. They play with a furious pace. They play with a great identity. And if you want to watch one person in the Stanley Cup playoffs that kind of epitomizes excellence and what the Pittsburgh Penguins are all about, just watch number 87. Just watch Crosby. This guy is never, that motor is never turned off. He's amazing. He brings the rest of them into the fight. And then they made some really shrewd adjustments and brought in guys like Jeff Carter, who have been fantastic players. Carter was in LA when they were winning those cups. He's a huge part of this team now. And their defense is holding up and their goaltending is holding up. And like you said to me last night, pork and broccoli, right?
Yeah. More pork.
Louis Domingue.
Yeah,
Yep.
Louis Domingue. I think Shesterkin seems to be in his head.
He's a young guy. He's played a lot of hockey this year. And, I just think that New York, even though they got back in the game after game 1, when they got down big, that first period where, what did they go up? The Penguins went up 4-1 in the first period, game 3. It rattled the Rangers. They came back, and then Pittsburgh got got a softie late to go up 5-4, and then they got a couple empty net goals. But on the empty net goals, I'll give you an example. Crosby, who he doesn't care about this stuff, but he didn't have any points in the first 5 goals. But he sets up the 2 empty net goals, so he comes out with 2 points. Everyone gets their assist, gets their goal, or whatever they get, empty net or not. They're feeling way better about their situation than the Rangers are, and they got to pull out all the stops. Madison Square tomorrow night, or is it tonight? It's tomorrow night, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, they played last night, so they're tomorrow
Wednesday
night.
night. Yeah. Wednesday night. Let's go Rangers. Let's see what they do. But
I think Pittsburgh ends it tomorrow night.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, really greasy team, and you know what? Quietly, Hextall and Brian Burke have come in there and added some pieces to the pie. They're getting goaltending from their third string guy, and you know what? I don't think it goes poof in the night. I just think there's a certain identity and a culture in Pittsburgh, and it starts with 87. And
Yeah.
Hey, let's see. I hope New York gets it tomorrow
And I
night. I'd
tell
like
you
to
what,
see it push it.
pork and broccoli is the new sandwich down there at Pamante's. So go check it out. Pamante's, go check it out. And also the best clip of the whole playoffs comes from when Pittsburgh scores and the guy goes in for a kiss from a girl and she denies him.
Oh,
So
that's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is the best. That's actually my favorite part of the playoffs so far. She's
Yeah.
like, beat it.
Yeah.
She's waving her towel there and she's cheering the goal. And guy comes over for a kiss and she just gives him the Heisman, the straight arm. See you later. So
Okay, what other we got Toronto, Tampa. I think that's 8. Is that we've gone 8, right? Yeah, that's
we'll figure it out.
okay.
Well, what do you
Toronto,
want to talk
Tampa.
about that?
Well, here we go. Let's talk to Toronto fans. There's no way you were going to beat Tampa in 4 games straight. So calm down a little bit, Luciano. My God. Toronto fans just like, no, they're going to beat them. No, they're the defending Stanley Cup champions 2 years in a row. They are a juggernaut of a team. You're playing great. I still think Toronto is going to beat Tampa. I think Tampa's coming to the end, but you can't give up, and you gotta. I don't think. Yeah, the last game they shanked it in the woods. Jack Campbell, our fella, had a tough game. But that's the playoffs. That's what it is. It's and one night off and you're back on. Don't tell me that if when you work 20 straight shifts, you're not tired. But they got to get it done. And they seem to have it in them. I like that coach. I enjoy how much the general manager gets into the game. He's been chirped a lot. And I don't think that the team is arrogant. I think they're enjoying when they win and being disappointed when they lose. Over to you, Jeff, hater of Toronto Maple Leafs.
I used to run as a kid. I think I had a Maple Leaf Settler jersey.
And they burnt it in your backyard.
Yeah, no, you know what? I do have a Toronto Maple Leafs shirt in the closet here. I should dig it out. This series exactly is the concern if you're is Toronto, as I said it earlier, was probably podcast 61 or 62. But what we wanted Toronto to do, if you're a Toronto fan, is you wanted to try and get a stranglehold and see if you could take these guys out in 4 or 5 games. That didn't happen. Now the question is, as it gets tighter, you're getting more into the kind of hockey in the time of season that Tampa Bay is going to start paying attention and leaning on all their experience. I still think Toronto has the edge in pace, but obviously Tampa has the edge in experience. And our friend Jack Campbell, he's done a great job in Toronto this year. He's got to harness the good, block the bad, and just give them just give them really good NHL goaltending. If he does that, Toronto is going to get their chances. And there's been holes in Tampa Bay this playoff series. But now we're getting down to the nitty gritty, and this is where Tampa Bay thrives. So either Toronto isn't able to withstand that, or Toronto keeps rising above and gets by them, and then uses Tampa as a springboard and look out with the way Toronto can play. So this is a really great series. It's kind of gone up and down and all around, but Toronto got a tough draw when they got Tampa Bay. They knew that. I thought, it wasn't so much what they did early in the series. It's what they're going to do later in the series. And you know what? They're going to be able to exercise a lot of demons if they can get by Tampa Bay. It's going to take them 6 minimum, maybe 7 games if they can do it. But if they get by them, then I think it clears a lot of the weight off their back that they've been carrying. And they've got nothing but blue sky out in front of them. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're keeping it
know.
We're keeping it. You're over there talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm counting on fingers what games we've talked about.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this. Well, and everyone can count. We got LA and Edmonton out of the way. Calgary, Dallas, Washington, and Washington and Florida, Nashville and Colorado.
Okay, yeah.
New York and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, Toronto. Then we just finished talking about Toronto and Tampa.
What's the last one?
Oh, Mini and St. Louis.
Minnie and St. Louis. That's the Midwest, the flyover states. Who gives a shit about them? No, actually, St. Louis won the last game. They were struggling. Minnie was looking really strong. They pull Huso and put in Bennington. Bennington actually gets the win. Look not bad. Perron is on fire as usual. I think this goes 7. I think it's a coin toss to see who wins this.
Yeah, last year in the first round, Mini got up against Vegas and they went 7, and it was just such a physically took a huge toll on Vegas to get by them. This is the same thing, except it's Pittsburgh, St. Louis this year. Whatever team gets out of this series is going to have a huge physical toll exacted on them. But you got to give St. Louis credit. All arrows were pointing towards Minnesota's direction, and they came out the other night in Game 4 with O'Reilly and Perron. Bennington stood strong, and they even the series. And I think if you would ask most people, they would have thought St. Louis was in some big trouble. Now we're 2-2 going back. It's best of 3. Here we go. And St. Louis and Mini were neck and neck all year. It might come down to the home ice advantage for Mini in Game 7 to decide this thing. But yeah, these two teams are so evenly matched, and you kind of thought, well, is it Mini's turn? Are they going to lay the boots to them? And sure enough, up off the canvas, here comes St. Louis again, who is a team that has got a lot of veteran leadership on it. So we'll see.
Yeah, you got a lot. You got great goaltending on both sides. You got even though Bennington struggled and Huso's been great, they are great. And then you got Fleury and Talbot who are just rocking in a free world. So I that's why I see it going 7. Minnesota seems just a little bit bigger than St. Louis, even though St. Louis plays heavy. I think Minnesota plays just a bit heavier. That's why I say it's a coin toss. I don't even want to say who's going to get by because I think it's a coin toss on this one.
Well, here's what it comes down to. If you're not sure, if Minnesota can stay in the box and not let St. Louis get in the power play, their odds I think go exponentially higher. St. Louis's power play is phenomenal. So keep it clean, keep your stick to yourself, stay out of the scrums now, because if they take you and you get a stupid penalty, Perron and O'Reilly are going to make you pay. Those guys are like, they're like snipers, right? They're just like, oh, there it is, boom, thanks, we'll put it in the net, skate back to center ice, change the complexion of the game. So
right. Referees keeping their whistles out of it. What do you think? What do you think of the refereeing so far?
I think it's pretty good for the most part, but they are starting to let some of the cross checks go, and some of the punches in the heads and the scrums, and that's not going to favor some of the higher skill, faster teams. It's going to favor the teams that have kind of the bigger, F350 Ford pickup lineups. So
right.
if the refs, if they keep it tight in the vicinity of where it is now, I think we're pretty good for the rest of the way. But if they put their whistles away, it's going to turn out to be they're going to be in the mud. And so far, I think these games have been so exciting because they've let them play, but they've called some stuff too.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know.
Nice.
Just kind of.
You know what the one thing, Jeff, to all these NHL teams have? All their teams can stick handle. Doesn't matter if you're just a guy that beats the hell out of people, but you can still stick handle. How do those people, this is getting bad. How do those people learn how to stick handle? Well, there's a system called Super Deker, and it is a game for fun for your child, your teenager, or even your old man that likes to play the old beer league. And you can set it up in your back room and you can stick handle and watch TV. And it's got magnets on it and it's got sensors and there's a puck with it. And you just slide it around and you can get points and see how many points you can get. Go on to superdeker.com, find out if you're the best or if you're the worst and get better. And you can also look at like beer games with it. You can just have a great time. Super Deker is much better than this commercial that I'm giving them right now. You can go on superdeker.com. You can order it. Use the code SLICES and get a discount and maybe some gifts from them. Who knows what you get with all that, but that'll be fantastic. Super Deeker, it makes hockey players better. And we've watched what people are doing now with these pucks, and you got to keep up. So get a training system that's just fun for the whole family. Superdeeker.com, proud sponsor of Enjoying Orange Slices.
Hey, and
Shut
that
it.
was fantastic. What
Shut
were you
it.
talking about again?
Shut
What
it.
was the name of that?
Shut it.
Super
Shut it.
Deeker.
Shut it.
Okay. I have to interject though, because we're gonna
Got
get absolutely ripped if we don't talk about this. How about a couple teams named Carolina and Boston?
That is hilarious. Super
Hey,
Deeker. Super Deeker
yeah.
will help you pick every team that's in the actual playoff.
Hey,
Oh my God. We forgot Carolina and Boston.
did the Rona snuck into our minds there.
Maybe we
Rona
should
just
write
took us
something down every so often.
You know, I used to write stuff all the time, and then I thought, you know what? I write stuff, and then trying to direct you is like trying to direct Lou Pearl and Henry on a walk. So I'm like, I'm not going to try and do that. I'm just going to let you be you, and we'll just wing it.
Shut it.
So we winged
Shut
it,
it.
and now we winged it right into the ditch.
Oh my God, that is absolutely hilarious. Well,
Yeah.
apparently
Let's do
there's
it.
one more series that's going on in the 2022 first round of the playoffs for the Stanley Cup, and that is Carolina Boston. Boston won the other night, and it was annoying. I'm going to be honest with you. I was annoyed by it. It was a Sunday. Was it earlier than noon? What time was that game?
Early, yeah, matinee. Hey, matinee game.
And
I'll
who
tell you a
has the
story.
most matinee games in the league?
Boston plays a ton of matinee games. They're
Mhm.
used to playing that time of day, and for those of you out there that
Huge.
it makes a big difference. And you know what? The players love them, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get the old gumption
Absolutely.
going in the afternoon game.
Absolutely.
So
I
here's
think
my
it's an
take.
advantage. I think it's BS by the league to let a team that's used to the matinee games have a matinee game during the playoffs.
Well, it's called TV. And
Yeah, but
there's some money involved.
they're playing like they're doing 4 games and 4 games. So you could have another two teams that aren't used to matinee games. So you're on equal footing. They could have had somebody else. That could have been Tampa, Toronto.
Well, but you want Toronto, if you're in Canada, you want them in the 7 o'clock time slot, right? You want them in prime time.
You want it equal, or I just think it's giving them an advantage. Look at you getting all flustered. We didn't know we were going to have this argument at the end.
I'm just saying matinee games are awesome and the players love them. It takes some getting used to, but when they have matinee games in Vegas, here's the benefit of it. Okay, first of all, they're trying to get all these games on TV, which we can actually find this year in the States on TNT,
So
ABC, ESPN, or TBS. You got to look, but they're there. Everybody gets them. So what happens is these afternoon games are great because in the playoffs, obviously, tickets are more expensive, but you get the families. You get the kids at the game, and you build, right, your demographic of who the kids are there. Mom and dad are there. Maybe grandpa and grandma are they might not be there and watching
It's
at home.
Boston, so they're hammered.
Yeah, everybody's all liquored up, but
11 a.m. and they go to church, they get hammered and go to the game.
Yeah, great city, one of the best. But I will say this about this series. Carolina looked, they've been up and down. Boston has matched their intensity. But what's happened is the Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand show has started to rear up again. And these guys are just ultimate. They're kind of like the Sidney Crosby in Pittsburgh, but Bergeron's kind of that guy in Boston. Just some of the plays these guys are doing, they're making unbelievable plays. They're bringing up the guys around them, and they gave it to Carolina on that matinee game. What was that? Sunday or Saturday? Whatever the last
Sunday.
They played tonight, right? Sunday. So I don't know. That series, I would have thought, watching it early on, I would have thought that Carolina would have been a great spot to take it out in 5. But it's going to take them 6 or 7 now. And Boston's just one of those teams that's always there. And
Boston
don't be surprised if they don't find a way, to pull it out.
Yeah, I think you're
Still
really
love
risking
Carolina.
it. I think you're really risking it when you bet against Boston.
Well, don't forget, Lord Bag, that
Yes.
they are playing their third string goalie in Carolina because
Mhm.
Ranta and Anderson are injured. Now, I don't know if Anderson's close to coming back. I thought I saw Ranta on the bench the other night, or maybe he stepped in, but they're nicked up in goal, and Pittsburgh seems to be a team that's being able to just go forward with it. It is hurting some other teams, so we'll see what happens.
Well, you look at the age of the guys on Pittsburgh compared to the age of the guys on Carolina, and I would think that Carolina would be a little bit more shook than the guys in Pittsburgh when it comes to goaltending. Like, I mean, like, oh, because they're young. Oh.
The dogs are like, we're not agreeing with that. Okay, so let's wrap it up. I think someone's at my door. So yeah, someone's here.
You think?
I think they're actually they're in the living room right now. So
somebody's stealing my furniture from my house right now. You got any shout outs?
Yeah, let's give a shout out to, I had a big one, but I'm gonna give it to Dana. Yeah, the dog catcher, I think, is coming to get my dogs. Big shout out to Dana, the LA Kings. Thank you so much, Dana. Awesome guy. And you know what? I'm really impressed that the Kings are kind of sticking with the Oilers. And if they play like they did the other night, who knows where it could go. That's it for me, Lord Bag. Love to all.
Love to all.
Well, that wraps up another edition of Joint Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. The dogs went nuts at the end. They'd had enough. They were like, you guys need to shut the front door and take it down. So we did. That's it from here. Next week, I think we're actually going to have a surprise for you next week. So if you stayed with us this long, you know we usually overpromise and underdeliver. But next week, we're actually going to try and deliver. So have a great week. Love to all.